Realize we need to go even higher than local. We call in the FBI. They start investigating. And as you can imagine, the FBI does not share things with anybody, right? Not even us. But they tell us, don't go to the public with this. We don't know what we have yet. The public sooner. I stand by my decision. We needed to know what this was. If this was more dangerous than it ended up being, we needed to be able to know what it was and to prosecute. So I stand by those decisions.
Well, did they tell you not to go to the public because of that?
They told us, they didn't quite know. And frankly, there are still investigations underway. This got broken to the public because of a really astute local reporter. We knew there was no immediate public health hazard. So at that point we go, okay, we're going to follow the FBI's lead on this. We're going to follow CDPH, California Department of Public Health. We're going to follow their lead. We cannot go out to the public because we need to be able to investigate, is there a Chinese government connection? Why would we go out to the public and say, we think there might be this, and all of a sudden they can be gone with the wind? You just don't do that when you're doing an investigation.
Okay, because the accusations, and probably the reason they asked for your termination, is when you found out, Gary Bredefeld was here the other day, he said it's, the Fresno County Department of Public Health. Public health. The public deserves to know. Is he wrong?
I never like to call out our elected officials. So is he wrong? I would rather say my preference is that he would have called me to find out what was going on.
Are you worried about the fact that they weren't disposing of what were they doing?
Heck yeah. They were throwing it in our local garbage, right?
You think so? That's what it was?
There were dead mice in our garbage can.
Wow. They just told you not to tell the public because there was danger there, or they just told you not to tell the public?
Well, John, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I think even our local PD guys would say, if there's a current investigation, you don't go out to the public, right?
Well, let me ask you this, because the FBI told you not to say anything. Is that right?
Technically, I'm not supposed to tell you what the FBI said to say or not to say, but I'm going to say the FBI and our federal and state partners told us we should not go out to the public with anything.
Okay, so did you question that? Did you think that was okay? Did you ask them, this puts me in an odd position, I'd like to tell people?
Absolutely.
Okay, did they? Absolutely. But they said it's really best that nothing is said at this point.
I think those of us who have been in government as long as we have, 25 years for me, I've worked with law enforcement for 25 years, we all know that the more you put out there in an investigation, the more you harm your ability to fully investigate.
Here, if you want to talk about public notice, shouldn't the public know what's happening in the warehouse across the street from them?
I have a very astute, very wise council member. His name is Matt Tuttle, who makes no bones about the fact that we didn't go out to the public. And he said, can you imagine if we did go out to the public, how many people would have known what was in there, might try to break in or do something nefarious? I mean, people are kind of crazy nowadays. And I think, well, he's really onto something, right? And so, yeah, do we need to know what's in our backyards? Does the general public need to know? I'm not sure, but certainly government should know. I mean, we should be able to track these folks and track these infectious diseases, at least that.
So you're saying that if you had a law, you would want to be notified as a city, but you wouldn't necessarily tell the public?
No, not necessarily. Does the public... I guess I would be concerned with, as crazy as we've seen people acting now, that if we went to every member of the public and said, hey, there's herpes and chlamydia in this building over here. I mean, can you imagine the public outcry and what people would think? I'm not sure what the answer is, John. I really am not.
I said I'd never seen a city be as transparent with information as the city of Reedley is being with this now. Why be as transparent as you are if the FBI said not to say something?
I think that's a great question, and I think people out there realize that we have been talking with our partners constantly about all of this, and once it goes public, we sit down with them and we say, this has gone public. Now that it's out there, we need our public to understand what's happening. And so the things that we're out there saying, they've been vetted through our partners to make sure that we can say them. We're not, let me back up. The federal agencies, I don't know how many members of our general nationwide public know this, but these federal agencies, under federal law, in most cases, cannot state whether or not they're investigating. They can't even formally tell us whether or not they're investigating. So they are very limited at what they can say, and they want us to also be limited. We're not under that federal law. However, we also don't want to jeopardize any potential investigations that might be happening.
You can have an investigation. You can say there's an investigation going on and still inform the public without jeopardizing the investigation.
But if they told you, if the FBI told you not to say anything,
well, I don't know that. Did the FBI tell you not to do that, Nathan?
I believe you had Nicole Ziba on yesterday that confirmed that. And also, too, the Speaker of the House indicated that the FBI is looking into this. So,
yes.
So again, Gary, would you listen to the FBI or would you ignore?
No, I would certainly listen to the FBI. The fact is, though, the public has a right to know after 7 months, 5 months, 6 months.
So now you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth.
Not at all.
Which is it?
Well, first of all, the FBI didn't speak to you, Nathan. You're alluding to Ziba. I haven't spoken to Ziba.
I've spoken to the FBI. Next question.
Okay. Did they tell you not to say anything?
No,
Nathan?
they did not, but they also indicated that I gave them information and left it at that. The FBI does not sit there and divulge information where they are with their investigations, but I have spoken to the FBI.
The reality is we as elected officials represent the public. The reality is the Department of Public Health has an obligation. Now, what if there's a concern about the FBI? Why did they put out this very document on their website that said they were, one, investigating, and two, later, a month later, shutting the place down? So this is Nathan's way of saying the public was notified, but nobody understands what this document is. Nobody goes to the Department of Public Health, looks at the website. So if there's an FBI investigation and nobody can reveal anything, why did they at least acknowledge that they were shutting down the place and investigating? You couldn't gone from this to let the public know, hey, there are serious biological agents that are going on, and they're dangerous to the public. And by the way, they eliminated medical waste illegally. It could have gone to the landfill. It could have gone into the waste systems, could have gone into the water systems. You can't have a press conference and notify the public and tell them what you're doing.
So again, appreciate all those questions. And one of the things I want to point out too for the listeners and to you, Gary, you could have come to me and asked any of these questions and I would have shared with you, but you decided to have a press conference, make just huge, salacious accusations. And
what did I accuse you of?
Hold on. Let me finish.
Okay.
You never took the time to call Nicole Ziba, who's the city manager of Reedley. You never called Buddy Mendez. You never called me. You had a press conference, made all these accusations.
What accusations?
And now what we are finding is, as we look into this, there have been investigations. As far as the threat to the public goes, Nicole Ziba was on talking about how they checked sewer systems, they checked water systems, that their number one goal in Reedley, as well as our Department of Public Health, was public safety, but two, it was catching the perpetrators who were breaking our laws. Listening to you would have had us run out, tell the whole world what was going on, and have these people just disappear.
Not at all.
That is
not
irresponsible.
No, what's irresponsible is not informing the public. My press conference was in direct response to all of the people who called me in response to the July 25th newspaper article that said, what is going on? And at my press conference, I accused nobody of anything other than not informing the public.
Okay, but why? I mean, why did you not want to notify the public?
Oh, it's not that we didn't want to notify. It's we were told don't do that by the FBI and the California Department of Public Health.
But you had these posts that were public, but
Correct.
You kind of knew that the public wouldn't see it.
Well, so the purpose of those posts was to meet public noticing requirements by law. The whole purpose still, because we were communicating, I shouldn't say we.
This is
FBI,
legal stuff.
Legal stuff. This is legal stuff. Because again, initially when Gary came out, he made it sound like the county was hiding something. He, using his own words, said this is a cover-up. So
no, I didn't say this is a cover-up. I said you're not being forthcoming with the public. I said you hid from the public the fact that this was
hid.
going.
We didn't hide.
You did.
No,
hide
we didn't,
because you didn't report it. You didn't let the public know.
So
hey,
I told you that the
Nathan,
FBI shared with us to not share with the public. That could jeopardize.
Argument.
So you don't believe it then?
And you just said the
FBI
didn't tell you that.
Hey, wait.
Nathan, you just said the FBI did not tell you that. You just said that when you were asked the question.
Everything on the table.
Let me ask you the question.
I'm going to raise my hand.
Can I ask the question? Let me raise it.
Well, I'm asking if they get credit.
They absolutely get credit. Okay. Let me say this: the FBI, according to Nathan, you're not supposed to reveal all that.
No,
why did the Reedley? Why did Reedley reveal all of that information? Why could they do that today when it is coming out from an article? Why couldn't they have done that 3 months ago, 4 months ago?
I didn't ask Nicole that question. I don't have an answer. Do you know?
Yeah, so I'll tell you why all this is coming out today. Number one, Gary, you're out there pounding your chest saying, "Oh my gosh, there's cover up everywhere."
An obligation, Nathan, no matter how much you shuck and jive, dance and circle around it, you had an obligation to notify the public. And you and your board of supervisors, the Good Old Boy Club, are completely out of touch with the public. Completely out of touch with the public. The public has a right to know. And they are upset that they weren't told about this. I have an agreement that they followed all the protocols and all the agencies are involved. At my press conference, I said the very same thing. Those protocols were followed and the agencies are involved. The public has a right to know. We all work for the public. When were they going to tell people? This came out July 25th. The county's known about this for 8 months. Went into a landfill and nothing. Complete silence. That's unacceptable.
Let me jump in here really quickly.
I have one point I just want to get here because you brought up this website notification earlier.
Yes. Well, that's because Nathan has said they notified the public and they notified the public through this obscure thing on a website.
I just want to clear that up because Nathan, you said you were told not to say anything, but we had this post on a website that notified the public, but Gary says that's something that nobody would see. Should you guys have had a news conference at that time that it was put on there? I mean, looking back in hindsight, does that make any sense?
So those are great questions, but no, it doesn't. And let me tell you the purpose for the postings in April, May, and June. As the investigations took place, the CDC as well as FDA turned back to the county and said, you guys need to clean it up. And it doesn't rise to a level of where we can declare an immediate emergency. So we had to go through court proceedings. So those notices were us using our normal channels, alerting the public to what was being done at that location. In addition to those notices going on our website, we put them physically on the building too to let the public know here are things going on at this site. But again, the purpose was not to say we have a Wuhan Lab 2.0. It was we're taking abatement action at this site to make sure later, if the property owners wanted to come back and sue us, we followed all the proper protocols. And again, at the beginning of your show, Gary said he appreciates that we followed the appropriate protocols, and that's exactly what we were doing.
What I don't appreciate is that you didn't notify the public there was a Wuhan Lab 2.0 in Reedley.
I'm going to say I look at this as a yes or no question. I know sometimes politicians have trouble with yes or no questions, but I don't think you will here. Let's say you were an ag insurance salesman. You had a wife and kids in Reedley. Your office was a half mile away from the lab. Your house was 2 miles away. Would you want a notice sent directly to you with a full-blown media tour of officials, of supervisors and city officials alerting the fact, a big red warning sign around the building on Ice Street? If that was you, would you want that, yes or no?
No.
No? 100 people out of 100 are going to say, yeah, when they hear HIV, chlamydia, E. coli, COVID. Who would not want to know that that's there?
I'll tell you right now, properly approved laboratories within the city of Fresno right now have samples of those exact substances. So if you have a laboratory that's operating appropriately, that's not a problem. The issue is when you have a facility that is not operating properly and there's a direct, immediate threat to the public. Yeah, there's a major issue, and absolutely I would want to know if that was the situation.
So you're saying that Reedley Lab was operating properly?
No, what I'm saying...
Okay, so it wasn't operating properly.
What I'm saying is that Reedley Lab, everything was contained inside. So if there was not an immediate threat to everything outside, I would not want to do anything to...
You wouldn't want to know. You wouldn't want your kids, you wouldn't want to be able to tell your kids, don't go ride your bike around that building?
I would not want my kids riding around that building. That is a true statement.
But if they didn't know, they're going to be riding around the building. So